In May of 1988, the Cold War was really winding down, and Gorbachev had decided to pull out of Afghanistan. Many of you may have been there at the time, but for us as journalists, it was the first real chance to come in by visa. It was no longer essential for us to go through Parachinar or over the hill into Jaji through the Mujahideen supply trail. We could actually fly into Kabul. And this was the first time journalists were given visas, was for this withdrawal of Soviet troops. In 1989, in Jalalabad, the battle for Jalalabad began, in particular with the Mujahideen groups trying to establish a provincial government. And it went on, the battle in Jalalabad went on for about 8-9 months. It did not succeed. And the fortress, the garrison around the Jalalabad airport was able to hold out. And Osama bin Laden was in the mix. This is one picture from along the Eastern Road, which came in from Pakistan, from Torkham. In 1989, in April, is the Sour Revolution holiday festival, which then still had the military academy in session. These are our military cadets that were well trained. President Najibullah was in power, and it seemed as though he would be able to withstand the Mujahideen attacks. Many of you could see the old British cantonment building in the background, and the stadium is over on the left in downtown Kabul. Many of you will recognize this man, Jalaluddin Haqqani, who agreed to see us as journalists because we went across in 1990 looking for Kashmiri militants being trained. He agreed that he was training Kashmiris. And when we asked if we could speak to them, he said, no, sorry, but we could see them coming back from their training exercises. This is in Khost. These are Chinese Uyghurs, Chinese Muslims who were being trained in the Zawara training camp, controlled by bin Laden and Haqqani. The journalist I was traveling with grew up in Singapore and spoke fluent Mandarin, and when we went up to them and spoke a few sentences in Mandarin, their jaws dropped. They didn't expect anybody to be speaking Mandarin to them, and when we asked them what they were doing there, they said their parents had a Chinese restaurant in Lahore. That's probably still a line they're using. And this is the finally Jalaluddin Haqqani was able to take over the Khost garrison. This is an inoperable Antonov airplane in April of 1991. Pakistan is off here. This is the Khost airstrip. So you can see the proximity in that area of the border, and that was the first province to go to the Mujahideen, and was not very appreciated by Dr. Najibullah in Kabul. Meanwhile, in Kabul, in Babar Gardens, life went on. Every Friday was the off day, and traditional dances. The Atan families would hold big picnics, harmoniums, tabla, and general everyday enjoyment of their day off. This is Babar Gardens. Next slide. In early April of 1992, the Mujahideen met in Jabal Saraj. This is one of the first and only times, at least I was witness to the number of ethnic groups that got together. And General Dostum here in the uniform had just defected These are the Ismailis, the Panjshiris, and General Moman, that's his hat in the background there, had also defected from the government. So the Panjshiris, the Tajiks, the Uzbeks, the Ismailis were all there. And what they were doing in this meeting in early April was deciding which ministries, which intersections, which buildings they were going to take over. While they didn't say that to us precisely in that fashion, 2 weeks later, in April 23rd and 24th, it became clear what this meeting was all about. So Hekmatyar was not there. Now these are Uzbek Jumbesh militiamen controlling the intersection at the bottom of Bala Hisar in Kabul. They're keeping back Hekmatyar's soldiers, trying to come in at that intersection, the Logar Road. You can see the fellow on the left had no shoes. That was nothing different, really, for Dostum's people. This is one of the few times we could see a victory celebration in 1992. It was just a truckload of people going by, and the Civil War pretty much kicked in the next day. Next slide, please. So this is chapter 2 in the book, which is, there's still a few copies left outside, but in 1993, civilians were constantly caught in the crossfire. Many of you had experienced this. This is about 1,000 yards from the Kabul Zoo, along the Kabul River. A man had gone out for some milk and been caught in the crossfire between Hezbi Wadat and government soldiers. A government soldiers riding around in their armed personnel carrier downtown Kabul along the Kabul River. In '93, there was a lot of shelling going on inside Kabul. This family is fleeing the shelling near TV Mountain. And you can see they literally grabbed whatever they could and took a chicken, a teacup, a bicycle, and just whatever they could grab and run away with. This was inter-militia fighting between Sayaf, the government, Hekmatyar, and Hezbi Wadat. Since the roads in from Pakistan had been cut on numerous occasions, gasoline was at a premium, and this was one of the ways of getting to work in the morning in downtown Kabul. This is an old Russian vehicle. I've been able to count about 25 people, just what I think might be there. But it was rough getting to work every morning. In 1996, early, we were able to sense that the Taliban were getting exceedingly close to Kabul, and one of the main responsibilities of the government, any government really, is to take care of the widows and families who've lost men to military service. And this is one such family whose main breadwinner had been killed in the jihad. I have not been able to find where they are today. This is downtown Jadi Maiwand. During a peace, a lull, the front line is over there, where the Pakistani, or what they would say, the Punjabis, the Arabs, and anybody that wanted to be in the opposition, that's the distance. Now, as many of you have been back and are living in Kabul, it's completely different. But these are young boys who were getting water for the fighters at the front line. In 1996, the government of Rabbani and Massoud were kicked out of Kabul, and this is about 10 miles north of Kabul, Taliban firing 107 millimeter rockets at the fleeing soldiers of the government. In October of 1996, this was the crowd that had gathered to hear the main mullah who'd come in from Kandahar to tell them how they were going to conduct themselves, grow their beards. The schools would be closed, shops would be closed during noonday prayers. Beards must be grown. I think all of you have heard this litany of demands from them. And it is less than 20 years ago. But you can see nobody really had beards at that. If you take a close look, beards had not. People were expecting something like this to be issued by the Taliban, but this was the day that it was delivered to them. And remember, there weren't newspapers or TV, radio stations at that time. In May of 2001, a reporter and I had gone up to see Ahmad Shah Massoud, who had then, at that point, only had the remaining 10% control of the country. Al-Qaeda and the Taliban had 90%. We wanted to find out how Massoud and his men maintained revenue, supplies, petrol, weapons. And as many of you know, the lapis lazuli mine and the emerald mine in Hinj were his main sources of revenue. And he was also getting gasoline through, this is in Hoja Bahuddin, Badakhshan, near the Tajikistan border. The reporter I was with spoke Farsi and had known him since the early 80s, so they were friends, and he finally met us after 2 days waiting, which was traditional for Massoud, is to keep you waiting. But the meeting started at 11 o'clock at night and went on till about 3 in the morning. We could not get down to the front line, but he had sensed that something was up in Kandahar. He had some contacts down there. He didn't reveal precisely what was going on, but in May of 2001, 90% of Afghanistan was controlled by the Taliban and Al-Qaeda. And if you remember, on September 9th, he was killed. For 2 days, Al-Qaeda and Taliban had 100% control of Afghanistan, and probably longer into September, until the Americans then took to the skies and started bombing. But history then took off and has been going by at light speed, particularly with digital forms of communication. In May of 2001, no one could have believed that the Taliban or Al-Qaeda would have 100% control of Afghanistan, but it was very close. And we were some of the last journalists to see Massoud alive, and he was killed near this location in Hoja Bahuddin. In November, December of 2001, I had gone in with the New York Times, and these are 4 Jaish Mohammed prisoners, Pakistanis, raised in a madrasa in Faisalabad in Pakistan. They were caught by Northern Alliance soldiers outside of Kabul and would probably be traded back to Pakistan or through the Americans, depending upon what would happen with prisoners. But you can see they're not, that look of innocence is not there. In Tora Bora, there were about 15 members of Al-Qaeda who stayed on through the bombing as bin Laden took off. And finally, they were, a truce was declared, and this is one of the Arabs that came down outside of Jalalabad. And there's another prisoner about to be brought up. Again, they were probably sold to the Americans, or at least traded for money. In 2002, you had operations in central Afghanistan to kick out or to chase and try to capture Taliban and Arabs who were fleeing towards the Pakistan border. This is a Taliban soldier. And if you look closely, there are 2 sets of rubber gloves, 1, 2, 3, 4. I noticed that his fingers had been inked and fingerprints were taken. It was very strange. But this is at about 6,000 feet, very dry in March of 2002. The air was very dry, so the body stayed in relative undecomposed. But what they did with these fingerprints, no one knows, but they thought he might be part of some terrorist ring or whatever the forensic people were doing. But when I edited this book, I first saw these 2 gloves, and then slowly but surely, this was digital film, I noticed the second set. So there were teams going around fingerprinting. The U.S. ambassador to Afghanistan in Kandahar was Almai Khalilzad. In 2005, I believe, was in Kandahar to cut the ribbon, celebrate a road opening outside of town. And many of you have been to Kandahar Airport. This has been around since the 50s. And security is provided by DynCorp. I'm not sure what Ambassador Khalilzad is doing today, but I believe he's spending quite a bit of time in Kabul. This is give you a quick idea of the landscape on the road to Khost. I believe this road is now paved. A U.S. Marine in Asadabad, Kunar. Again, that's the Kunar River in the background, the Hindu Kush mountain range. One thing I tried to do in the book was to bring in as many of the protagonists as possible, and that included the borders. Now, these are Taliban inside Quetta, Pakistan, in a part of Quetta called Pashtunabad. On a Friday, they knew that I knew who they were. They're not Pakistanis. And I think this whole question about sanctuary can go on for hours and hours, but this is one of the reasons insurgencies can maintain themselves whenever there's sanctuary. It's extremely difficult to eliminate the enemy. This is in Nuristan in Kamdesh, 10th Mountain Division soldiers were wounded in an ambush, and eventually in 2008 or 9, this base was overrun. Nuristan really, it surprised me what kind of commitment they gave to it, but they thought they could hold on to this kind of terrain. It's extremely difficult. President Hamid Karzai. I'll tell you a quick story. In Islamabad in the 90s, we would refer to this gentleman as Hamid. We all stayed at the same guest house in F6. We would see his vehicle parked outside, and we knew that Hamid was inside. And it was actually, he's our contemporary in age, and it's quite strange by just passing by in the hallway of a guest house and waving to him, and now things have changed, obviously. His convoy is not just one Toyota Land Cruiser, but 14, and many helicopters. This is a provincial, or rather a district outpost, district governor's guardhouse, the ANP, Afghan National Police. And you can see the mix of material that they have at their disposal. A HESCO wall on the roof, the top to a Chinese or a Russian vehicle, a broken chair, and a brand new Ford pickup truck without any gasoline. And this, unfortunately, is in an area heavily controlled by the Taliban. A US soldier meeting a young boy in Wardak, a crucial province for protection of Kabul, but one very difficult to control, as many of you know. These are US Marines in southern Helmand, Khan Nishin, a very difficult part of Helmand to control, and it was 52 degrees there, about 125 Fahrenheit, not the greatest weather to be patrolling. And actually, Marja was in their sights, but this particular battalion only arrived at half strength, and the Marine colonel was not very happy about that, to be in such a big rural area with only half the number of Marines that he was expecting. And actually, Baramcha should have been their goal, their mission, but they never went down to that infamous place controlled, which controls a lot of the drug and smuggling on that Pakistan-Afghan border. This is over Kunar province, the real Hindu Kush, Watapur Valley. This is back in Khan Nishin. This is the old fortress. Marines looking for IED material, fertilizer on a farmer's building, looking for diesel fuel and fertilizer, which are the primary ingredients for IEDs. It was determined that this was not a place where bombs were made. These are the vehicles that are now coming out in 2013. The previous slide was 2009. This one is at Bagram in a hangar where vehicles are stripped and cleaned before they're shipped back to the US. They are $750,000 each, mine-resistant, ambush-proof vehicles, MRAPs. One of the wedding halls in downtown Kabul, 2013. Many of you may know this place. This is a view from Noonday Gun Hill. Kabul University is, if I could get the laser, no, I don't think I have the laser anymore. That's the Kabul River about halfway through the picture. Demazang off on the center right. On May 16th, which was my last day in Kabul, after I'd paid my hotel bill in the morning, I had a flight to Dubai and then Dubai, New York. At 9 o'clock in the morning, 6 US soldiers were killed in a car bomb attack near Bala Hissar. A suicide vehicle-borne explosive device was parked nearby a convoy of trainers, US Army trainers. 6 were killed, and 10 Afghans were killed. This is the withdrawal of US soldiers at Bagram. The soldiers in the back with helmets carrying guns are coming in to finish out their rotation, and the soldiers in the front are leaving without their weapons. So this, if you can remember the Soviet Army picture, leaving, getting a flag from the Afghan soldier, there will be no ceremony of US soldiers leaving, and I don't think anyone is in the mood right now for any kind of ceremony except for a base BSA signing agreement, but even that is probably very contentious. And this is present-day Kabul. from one of the only flyovers in town. So what I wanted to do quickly, there are 117 pictures in the book. I've shown you 40 tonight, is to give you a full, quick tour of my 25 years in Afghanistan as a journalist. And I arrived at a very crucial time in history, the end of the Cold War. And the last set of pictures in May of 2013 is also today a crucial time in the country's history. And I firmly believe that this is what Afghans want. They want peace, prosperity, and the ability to go to the market without fear of any kind of violence and to enjoy that 24 hours a day. And this, to me, represents that goal that they have. And I hope that they can succeed with that. And this group today is all based on hope for the future. But also, if the whole purpose of my book really is to warn everyone that history can repeat itself and that it can easily fall backwards, and that to have a recording of that history, to be able to refer to it, is my priority. And I hope you have a chance to see the book, and I thank you for your attention tonight.
You know, for those of us who lived through all of this, this book is quite an amazing collection. I mean, think about it. We've all seen beautiful picture studies of Afghans over time and different families, different places. But I'm not sure we've seen a book that encompassed the history, at least from 1988 to the present, in a way that this book covers it. Bob, you should know, is a well-known photographer. He's worked for Time magazine on contract for 30 years. He has had pictures not only in Time, but in the New York Times, in the Wall Street Journal, the Financial Times, the Guardian newspaper out of Great Britain. So we are really graced with your presence, Bob, and as an American that has put this much time and energy over this long a period, I mean, you're a real treasure for both our countries. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And please stay with us and enjoy the hospitality.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And by the way, the books are also available. I'm sure most of you have seen. We have a table outside. These books are available. So. Once again, I wanted to welcome and thank everyone for attending our 9th annual U.S. Afghanistan Business Matchmaking Conference. And a special thanks to our guests from all the way from Afghanistan who have traveled such long distance, and especially this year, we see a large turnout of Afghan participants, which we are delighted to have them. Hopefully, we can even increase more and work on this to improve some of our shortcomings and have a larger turnout, and on the American side and Afghan side as well. All this is possible because of the efforts and work of a team of people that some of these members you may not see on the stage or so, but our board consists of 15 board members. We're all volunteers. It's a member-driven organizations, and the sponsors we get and the members pay is what pays for AACC and allows us for the past 11 years to operate and be the voice of business for Afghanistan in the U.S. And through our events, which we mainly have in Washington, at least 6 to 8 events in the Washington area, and we also try to expand and have events in California and other parts of the U.S., and we have partnered to have at least 3 events in Dubai, and recently another pre-BMC event in Kabul. We try to reach out across the U.S. and also even outside in Dubai and Afghanistan, and of course with the help of our affiliates in Afghanistan, we're able to achieve this and work together to hopefully do more in the future, and every year try to improve this. And again, this is only possible because of the sponsorship and support of members and sponsoring companies to create this platform for networking, for sharing ideas, sharing new business opportunities, and also discussing the challenges, which sometimes we don't get to see this in media or other outlets. At this point, I wanted to quickly recognize our board members. We have, like I said, 15 board members, but at this point, the ones who are here tonight that could make it, I just wanted to quickly recognize them and have them come on the stage. I'm going to start with Bill Jorn, who is a board member and also part of our executive committee. Yama Azami, our treasurer, who started with the welcoming remarks. We have Mr. Qasim Tareen. He is the head of our California chapter out of Northern California. Hopefully, we are working to have a California event. It got postponed because of the government shutdown in the US, but hopefully in spring we'll have some more activities in Northern California, especially focusing on ICT and also agribusiness. So that should allow us to do some more work in California and West Coast. We have Doug Brooks, please come to the stage. He's joined us. We have worked with him for many years as part of ISOA, but this year he became a board member, and we're thankful for his participation and support. We have David Bigg. He used to be our vice president and a very active board member who usually helps us a lot during the matchmaking conferences and all the registrations and the paperwork that you see. He tries to oversee all of that. We have Mohan Singh with us. Yes. Mainly helped us a lot with our construction working group. Been part of big help in the association for past few years. I think these are the board members we have with us right now, if I'm correct. I also like for Sahar Javitesh, Ms. Sahar Javitesh, although she is not a board member, but I could say that she does more work than all our 15 board members combined. So she's the only staffer we have because of the limited budget we have. So I'd like her to join us on the stage, please. Come on inside. Yeah, like I said, as a volunteer organization with limited resources, we try to put all the work on her. And sometimes we may not be able to deliver what we want, but she does her best, and we try to help her to achieve that. So thank you, Sahar John, especially a month before the conference, all the registration and some of these small details are all on her, and she's always been great, especially for the past 6, 7 years. How many years? 7 years that she's been busy at work. Now I'd like Honorable Don Ritter to introduce our affiliate organizations who also play a key role in the success of this matchmaking conference.
Okay, before I do that, I just want to take a moment and recognize some of the staff that Sahar recruits at this time of year, and they have done a wonderful job. Suleiman mentioned David Begg's rather substantial contributions to the matchmaking conference, but also retired Colonel Ed Corcoran has been a significant contributor to the cause at this point. Arsalan Lutfi, younger brother of Suleiman, and a Trivision stalwart, has been a great contributor. Peter Wayman has been a wonderful contributor as well, formerly with Technologists, Inc. Parisa Sangin Manesh, are you here? Is not here. What about Mahnaz Kadampour?
Yes,
Dr. Kadampour? Yes, has been a great help with registration. Also, David's wife has the privilege of working very hard for the matchmaking conference at a time when she's pregnant and ready to have a baby. So she did this 2 years ago, and now again she's working with us, very pregnant as well. Thank you. Mariam Wafa and Ms. Sumaya Hosseini, are you here?
No,
They're not here, okay. But Sahar puts all these staffers together, and many of you have worked as closely with Sahar as any of us, and She is a core component to the AACC well-oiled machine. Well-oiled most of the time. Anyway, it's time. Let me bring to the table our sister organization, without whom this operation would be deficient, to say the least. So, first and foremost, Haji Hussein Fahim, the chairman of ACCI, please come up here, and his CEO since inception of ACCI, Mohammed Kurban, otherwise known as Kabir Hakjo, the president of the Afghan Builders Association, Naeem Yassin, please come up here, Haji Abayadullah Sarakhel, the chairman since inception of ABCD, Afghan Business Council Dubai, Arash Younasi, chairman of the Balkh Chamber. We have the chairman of the Herat Chamber, Mr. Khatabi, not here either. And then we have Bashir Keshtiar, our newest sister organization from Australia. You know, Bashir is a banker, he's a financial guy in Australia, and we really look forward to exchanging ideas and stuff and the like. And just in addition, we need to recognize a important trustee of our organization, the father of the Lutfi sons, Ibrahim Lutfi. Please stand up. Yeah, that's good. And last but not least is Shakib Nouri, the commercial attaché with the Afghanistan embassy here in Washington, and a major ally as we do all our different things with Afghanistan and collaborate on events here, this being just one of them. So I think we have a good group of stalwarts up here on the stage, and some of our board members are really missing this, but they're off in places like Jawad is off to Brazil. He used to, be the ambassador for the Southern Hemisphere as well as the United States. And Cheryl Bernard, the wife of Zalmay Khalilzad, Dr. Cheryl Bernard, I think is in Kurdistan at the moment. And so our board members are widely global, I might say. I think it's time now to talk about our award winners for these awards that we give every year, the AACC Business Person of the Year Award. And this year, the award is presented to Stephen Brent Appleton, a professional engineer and an MBA, president and founder of Appleton Consulting. Steve has made major contributions over the years to the construction industry in Afghanistan. Steve worked as the director of roads at one point for USAID. He was special forces, fought with our special forces in Afghanistan. And he has built maybe some of the companies here, he has built some very significant, or his contribution, I might say, has led to the building of some very significant Afghan local construction companies. He has worked very closely with JICA and with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. I'm going to read this. The Appleton philosophy is unique, merging Western business acumen with local operating expertise in a manner that leverages strengths and results in award-winning work. As a result, 2 of Appleton's select group of clients were recognized by the United States Army Corps of Engineers for their exceptional work, receiving awards for Best New Contractor of the Year in 2011 and for Capacity Development Contractor of the Year also for 2011. And he is building his company with its regional expertise throughout Central Asia in a variety. I've noticed that you guys are, where's Steve? Are competing for, you guys are, where's Steve? They are now competing for work in a variety of major projects, teaming up with international companies. So without further ado, we'd like to present this award to Stephen Brent Appleton and his Appleton Consulting, Inc. You get in the middle.
All right. Looks like the Olympics.
Thank you. Would you like to say a few words, Steve?
If I may,
Please.
Well, to the chairman, President Don Ritter, to the executive leadership here with the AACC, to the executive leadership of the ACCI, and to this distinguished group. It is with great humility that I accept this award. This is not about me. This is about my team. This is 40 of what I consider to be some of the best Afghan talent in Afghanistan, doing what they are supposed to be doing, which is Afghans building Afghanistan. I provide mentorship and leadership, but they actually do the work. I would just like to also add that it's interesting how our journeys take us. I soldiered for almost 30 years, 3 wars. I had definite purpose when I put a uniform on. Why I ended up in Afghanistan in 2005, I'm not sure. My life journey took me there. But I have definite purpose with regards to the work that goes on in that country. There is something unique about Afghanistan that attracts those of us who like to operate on the frontier. So once again, thank you to the leadership, and on behalf of my team, thank you very much.
Thank you, Stephen. When you shake the hand of Stephen Brent Appleton, you know you've shaken the hand of a very, very strong person. Yeah. And a bunch of you have probably had that experience. Our next award is an award that we started last year, and it's for an Afghan component. And we have to be careful because there are so many Afghan companies that we work with. So we created this award based on performance excellence, yes, but also support for AACC and its goals. And this year we came up with the right person for that award, along with the right institution for that award. And that award goes to Mohammed Kurban Hakjo, aka Kabir Hakjo, and his ACCI team. So, you want to stand in the middle? Yeah. Good. You want to say a few words?
Sure. Well, thank you very much. I'm really excited about this award. Actually, this award as for the ACCI leadership and ACCI team, my excellent co-workers, my deputy, Atiq Nasrat, especially Qadir Bahman, the head of international affairs of ACCI, and the excellent leadership at the board of directors and the leadership of Haji Hassin Fahim, our chairman. I'm very blessed to have these businesses here from Afghanistan. All of them are member of ACCI, and after us, ACC. Let me just elaborate a little bit about the slides that have been shown. That showed that Afghanistan gone through a very tough time. If you look at that slides, that mostly was reflected the negative parts of Afghanistan's war. But today, Afghanistan is totally different and changed. I'm sure that if you go in Afghanistan and look at that, you can see huge differences, which he also put it on that. But it means Afghanistan is on the right place. In 1988, when the Soviet withdrawal Afghanistan, that time the majority of Afghans wanted to go back to Russia because nobody invited them. But today, when the U.S. is there, as you said about, as you heard about the Loya Jirga, the big gathering from Afghans about the BSA, the Afghans want the United States to stay in Afghanistan. And I, as a normal citizen of Afghanistan, want to thank the U.S. government and U.S. people for every penny you paid and for every drop of blood you spent for Afghanistan, for us. And we appreciate that. We appreciate that. We value the worth of those bloods and treasury. And I want to also acknowledge the importance of business people. If you look at the Afghan story, the majority of decisions in the story was made by decision of politicians and militants. But we want that economists and the business people make decisions about the Afghan future. And that's you, the investors, foreign and domestic investors. We want that the private sector changes this country and bring prosperity and peace and sustainability, not only in Afghanistan, the region, and the world. And that's exactly our goal. So with that, I think our job as a private sector, and especially the AACC and ACCI, is very, very crucial at this time to make this things happen and encourage investors. Let me end my remarks with acknowledging the role of AACC and the establishment of new ACCI, which today I got this award, actually. It starts in 2003. We are put the foundation of a modern Chamber of Commerce, which we took the state-owned, old-fashioned Chamber of Commerce and we reform it in a very market-oriented and business-oriented independent Chamber of Commerce, which serves today the entire business community in Afghanistan. So I want to acknowledge the role of Honorable Don Ritter on this, and Mr. Chair, Sulaiman Lutfi. I'm honored to have this. Thank you very much, and I wish you a pleasant night and اشتیای خوب برای نان شب. تشکر از توجهتان. Thank you very much.
Kabir and I share the knowledge of Russian, and on occasion when we're in the midst of Afghans and Americans, and we don't want anyone to know what we're saying. Мы говорим по-русски. We talk Russian. Anyway, moving right along, I think there's a presentation to AACC coming from one of Afghanistan's leading business people. Yes, now's a good time. Kabir, you can help translate.
Sure.
Okay, so what you need to get in the middle here. Yeah, you get in the middle. And Suleiman and I, be on one side, and the Kabir here and Chairman here. Not over your face.
Should we move? That's
and you need to make a little speech. What is this? You know, tell people about it. Akjo, you seen it?
The Afghan carpet, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's symbolic, symbolic. Okay, now we need to explain this.
کلا بگو که این از طرف اتاق‌های تجارت افغانستان است
Okay.
و اتاق‌های تجارت آمریکا و افغانستان جمهوری آمریکا و این قالین وطنی هست که اونجا
Actually, this is a hand-weaved carpet from northern Afghanistan from ACCI, and you can see there is the both logos, and that's presented to ACC. And as you know, that Afghanistan before was known in Cold War, it was known by its carpet, and that's why it's a symbol of Afghanistan economy, and it's our honor to.
And
give it.
we are going to hang this proudly in our AACC headquarters. Perfect. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
For those at a distance, this brown spot from a distance you wouldn't recognize, but it is the shaking of hands. So
Yeah.
yeah, very nice. Thank you so much. Bishat, tashakkur. Bishat, tashakkur. Okay, we have one last item. Michael Timke, who's representing Zmarai Kamgar and the Kamer and Kam group, is the Michael is Zmarai's right-hand guy in the international scene.
Good evening, salam alaikum. Zamarai unfortunately couldn't make it this evening, but he asked me to make this special award to Don, because Don is a valuable asset to all Afghan business, and this is his appreciation to you personally, and we wanted to officially give it to you, Don, for your work over the years. I know the Afghan Parliament recognized you this year, but this is last year, but this is Afghan people, and specifically Zamarai and his group.
Wow, that's
Thank you so much.
big lapis, huh?
That's big love, it's heavy.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you. We're going to display this proudly in the AACC headquarters. So thank you. And thanks, Mare, for us as well. Thank you. Oops, no, it'll fall.
This.
You want to close up?
Yeah. Well, again, this is the team, basically the key team that helps us organize this conference, and we're going to have another excellent panel discussions and another good day of our conference tomorrow, similar to the format, so the agenda has a detail for that, but I don't want to take more time. I'd like to thank everyone and basically enjoy bon appetit and enjoy the dinner and networking time tonight late. And we're going to take, I guess, one picture, but thank you again, everyone.
Take a group picture.
Yes, thank you.